Joining us right now is former Reagan Budget Director David Stockman. David, do you see it as crumbs?
No, I think the metaphor was wrong. It's a whole loaf of bread, but it was stolen from the future. In other words, this was written in invisible, disappearing ink. All the individual tax cuts, they're nice today. They're going to go away in a few years. Secondly, $2 trillion is going to be added to the debt at the wrong time, 10 years into a business expansion. And future taxpayers are going to be paying for this forever. So I think a huge mistake was made when they passed a unfinanced tax bill. If they wanted to cut spending, great. If they wanted to really close loopholes, great. But to borrow it at this late stage of the cycle.
That's not what she meant when she said crumbs. She does think that $2,000 is crumbs to the little people.
Yes.
Because she lives in such a bubble in San Francisco and hangs out with her rich friends. She doesn't know what $2,000 means to the average person.
It's a lot of money.
She's trying. Stop making excuses for Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
She knows exactly what she said, and she's tried to stick to it, but still backtrack and not dismiss the millions of Americans who got these $2,000 bonuses. And she's trying to act like that she understands the value of a dollar in this day, and it's just poppycock.
And she doesn't.
Well, wait a minute. I'm not defending Nancy Pelosi.
But you kind of were.
No,
David.
I'm not. I'm saying they're all wrong. They need to be facing a $1.2 trillion.
So how do you explain the fact that in the prior 8 years, businesses sat on cash and did not put the money to work, but now in the last year we've seen business spending start moving again and animal spirits start moving again? How do you explain
I don't know if there's animal spirits moving or not. Business spending.
Well, let's take a look at business spending. The numbers are there.
It's not up. It's not up. Seriously, at this late in the cycle, we're still spending relative to GDP or cash flow or value added less on net business investment than ever before. So the point is, there's no free lunch. There is going to be a yield shock. We're through.
So do you think, let me ask you this.
Let me just say,
do you think that the corporate rate should still be at 35%?
No, I think it should be at 21%, or it should be zero, and it should be offset with spending cuts of $2 trillion.
Spending is your problem.
But you can't ignore where we are at this stage of the cycle.
But we agree with that on spending.
But Maria,
I was
look,
upset about that, but the Democrats now are trying to act like they care about the debt and the budget
they're
deficit.
Hypocrites.
Which is,
forget about what they have to say.
Where were they when we were at $10 trillion?
But that's why we sit here every day, is to call them out on their you-know-what, that they're preaching, trying to win back the House.
I'm all for you doing that, but why don't you call all of Washington out on the fact?
She does. She calls it out, and we all
But I want to call out all of them, because we're now doing the right thing at the Fed. They're going to shrink the balance sheet by $600 billion at an annual rate starting in October. Same thing as dumping bonds. They don't call it that. That's what they're doing.
Right.
The Treasury is going to be borrowing in the coming year because of all this spending, all this defense increase, unfunded tax cut, $1.2 trillion. Put those two together, you got $1.8 trillion of homeless government debt going into the bond.
Should we have not put money into the military? Should we have not put money into the military?
No, we shouldn't have. No, they should be asked to find better ways to use what they already have. Okay.
You say there's going to be a yield shock because of all this debt.
Right.
But analysts have been saying this for decades. They've been saying that we're running up such large deficits. They said it after the financial crisis when we ran into trillion-dollar deficits. And yields, I mean, they are moving up, but
there's a huge change in the world, a massive pivot that isn't focused on. Back when I said it in the 80s, the balance sheet of the Fed was $200 billion. Of the total world central banks, it was $400 billion. Today it's $22 trillion.
Yeah.
In other words, they've been buying up the debt for the last 20, 25 years, easing the shock. Now,
do you have any idea how many accidents happened in the Navy this year?
Well, I don't want to go to the
Do you have any idea how many planes cannot fly because they're not capable, because we've starved the military? Do you have any idea?
No. I've heard all that, but the obvious answer is don't have so many missions, don't be bombing Syria, don't be mucking around in the Middle East.
So turn our face when he uses chemicals and nerve gas on his people?
It's already proven that was totally a hoax. There's no.
So you say Syria did not use nerve gas on his people?
I think there's the likelihood of that is practically zero. There's plenty of evidence coming out of there right now that there was bombing going on. It's a civil war. There were huge dust clouds. People were.
Now you lost me, David. You lost me. lost me.
Well, you lost me.
Bashar al-Assad is a good guy?
No, he's not. They're all bad guys. We have no dog in that hunt on either side. The people who said there was a gas attack are jihadist head choppers. I mean, are we going to believe them? They're the ones that put out the videos. All of these videos are faked. It's been very well analyzed if you just look outside of the mainstream media.
It's very tough to unravel here, because what you're saying is there's too much spending. We know that the omnibus was a bust, but they were forced to do it because they wanted to put money into the military. But your position is that don't put more money into the military, and that's, I don't know that you can do that.
I can easily, Maria, I can do that because there's $600 billion before they added 80. If they wanted to prioritize spending, if they wanted to stop wasting all the money we're wasting, buying new weapon systems we don't need, like aircraft carriers. Why in the hell do we need $13 trillion aircraft carriers in this day and age?
Emmanuel Macron is in the States. You can go talk to him about this being a hoax.
I have a couple of reasons. Kim Jong-un, Bashar al-Assad, Iran. Those are three reasons for you.
Well, Bashar al-Assad is no threat whatsoever to the United States. He never harmed us, couldn't harm us. It's irrelevant. The Iranians, actually, we could live with if we would stop trying to treat them as a pariah nation.
All right,
and
David
the last guy, the fat guy,
the market pricing in all these debt problems that you see? The market's forward-looking. Why isn't it pricing in all these debt?
Because the market,
I mean, they know how much.
Because your beloved Fed has so ruined the markets that they price in one day at a time.
That's actually not fair to say.
Give me a break, David. You're trying to take these extreme positions on everything. It's like you're losing us. When you were on the spending thing, we agreed, but I mean, you know, trashing the military and all this. Come on, give me a break.
I'm not trashing the military. I'm trashing our leaders who are putting the military in harm's way where they don't need to be. That's a big difference. Why are we in Germany 40, 50 years after, or after the Cold War ended, 25 years? Why are we still on the Korean Peninsula? We should be out of those places.
We're also calling our military leaders and our leaders in Washington a bunch of liars, that we bought, that we had these airstrikes, and everybody knows it was a hoax. It's this great global hoax. It's a giant conspiracy theory. You know why conspiracy theories never hold up? It's because nobody would ever get on the same page.
Were they right about WMD? Is there any proof that the first time a year ago that there was actually a chemical attack?
So should we just forget about who has nuclear capabilities and just go it alone and not even worry that these maniacs out there have capabilities to destroy the world?
The Iranians don't have nuclear capability. They agreed to a long-term agreement, and we got a president now who wants to blow up the agreement.
Well, they got the cash anyway. They got those bags of cash, $150 billion.
Maria, it was their money that had been sitting in an account for 36 years gathering interest.
David, thank you. Thank you so much. David Stockman there. And in